4 wins in a row, and now a starting corner goes down right when we need everyone healthy. Fans are calling for changes, but there's hidden depth here nobody's talking about. A rookie just exploded with 13 carries that completely flipped this offense. And the only question is, what took so long? And that's not all. There's a veteran out there available for peanuts. Someone we almost brought in before, and this move could fix everything up front. Stick around till the end, because this might define our entire season. Let me tell you something about what went down in Week 7 against the Saints, because this is way bigger than people realize. Everyone saw the win, everyone celebrating 4 straight. But what most folks miss was the seismic shift that just happened in this team's run game. Andre Swift ran it 19 times for 124 yards. Impressive, sure. But here's the real story. Kyle Monangai, the rookie who barely touched the ball in the first month, suddenly gets 13 carries and busts out for 81 yards and his first pro touchdown. 13 carries? So tell me, why the hell weren't we doing this since week 1? Ben Johnson finally pulled the trigger on what everyone knew would work, the 2-back system. That's the same formula he used in Detroit with Swift and Jamal Williams, with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. That's his philosophy, that's his offensive DNA. But for some strange reason, through the first 4 weeks, Swift took 56 carries, while Monangai barely saw 17. That's not a 2-back system. That's pure stubbornness. Now look at the results. Last 2 games, 33 carries, 232 yards for Swift, 7 yards per pop. Those aren't normal numbers. Those are elite numbers. And Monangai, when he finally got his shot, he looked like he belonged. He made you wonder how many wins slipped away earlier just because we didn't use him. I don't think this change was just tactical. It was forced. Swift came into the game banged up, and that made Johnson's hand. But sometimes, the best decisions come out of necessity, not choice. And what we saw out there, that was beautiful. When Monangai hit the field fresh, he ran angry, explosive. And when Swift checked back in, he had juice for those home run plays we expect. Credit to the O-line too. Drew Dalman graded out with a 76.8 in run blocking, highest among all linemen. And those tight ends, man, they were grinding in the trenches. Johnson said it himself, you could feel that line moving the pile. That's music to any Bears fan's ears. Here's the main point. This can't be a one-time thing that happens just because Swift got dinged up. The 2-back plan has to become the norm. Monangai even said it himself. The more we show we can do it, the more confidence the coach will have calling those plays. And if we want to compete with Baltimore in Week 8, we need that balance, that versatility. The Ravens are giving up 134.3 yards per game on the ground. That defense can be had if you pound it. If we keep Swift and Monangai fresh, rotating, wearing them down for 4 quarters, we've got a real shot at that game. But if we slip back to bad habits, if Swift goes for 20 carries and Monangai just gets 5, we're wasting this offense's potential. The real question is, why did it take 7 weeks to figure this out? Johnson's got a proven record running 2-back systems. So, what was it, ego? Swift's contract? Not trusting the rookie early? How many points did we leave out there the first month just by not using all our weapons? Look, I'm not here to just throw shade. I'm here because I care about this team. What I saw in Week 7 was a glimpse of what we can be when we play to our identity. 124 for Swift, 81 for Monangai. Both finding the end zone. That's balance. That keeps defenses honest. And let me tell you something about Monangai 13 carries. 81 yards, first pro score. But beyond the stat line, it's how he ran. Physical, violent, hitting holes with purpose. That doesn't come out of nowhere. The kid was ready, just needed the chance. And now that he got it, there's no looking back. Johnson said Monangai needs to learn both spots and get more snaps. Well, mission accomplished. The only question is, was this real or just a 1-week test drive? Because if it's the latter, that's a big mistake. This offense is more dynamic, unpredictable, and dangerous when you've got two backs keeping defenses guessing. They can't pack the box because they don't know who's getting the rock. They can't rest because there's always a fresh set of legs coming in. That's the edge. That's why Detroit ate on the ground under Johnson. And now we've got the pieces to copy that here in Chicago. Swift brings the experience and skill. Monanga has youth and hunger. And the O-line's starting to click with Dalman, Joe Thunney, and Jonah Jackson holding it down. The pieces are all there. Johnson just needs to stick with it. This right here was the turning point of the season. Not week 1, not week 4. Week 7 when we found out who we really are. We're a team that pounds the rock with two physical backs behind a nasty line. That's our identity. Stick with that, and I'll tell you, nobody's going to want to see us in January. But if we go backwards, Swift gets 20 carries and Mo Nagai gets 5. Then it's all wasted. And that would be tragic, because we finally found something that works. Something that can take us where we want to go. Now let's flip to the defensive side. While everyone was hyped about the offense in Week 7, something happened on defense that's got folks justifiably nervous. Tyreek Stevenson hurt his shoulder against the Saints and never came back in. Didn't return. And now his status this week is totally up in the air. Here's the issue. We already lost Jalen Johnson to injury a few weeks ago. He's on IR. So potentially, both starting corners might be sidelined at the same time. Let me ask, how are we supposed to slow down Lamar Jackson and the Ravens without our top 2 corners? Baltimore isn't New Orleans. They've got weapons everywhere. If our secondary's thin, that's a real problem. But here's the thing nobody's talking about: the depth stepped up big. When Stevenson went down, Nahshon Wright stuck in his spot, and Nick McLeod filled the other side. And guess what? Nothing broke. McLeod wasn't targeted once in 17. Coverage snaps, 0. That says something. Wright gave up 2 catches on 6 throws his way for 18 yards and a touchdown, but also snagged a nice interception. Yeah, he got burned once, but he made up for it. That's balance, that's resilience. And Kyler Gordon, 3 yards given up on 2 targets. 3. The guy was glued to receivers like gum on a shoe. He even moved outside for a snap when Wright went out briefly after bumping into Kevin Byard, and he handled that too. Versatility, that's what Gordon brings. So if Stevenson has to miss time, I actually think we've got the depth to handle it. Not ideal, sure, but far from a disaster. Defensive coordinator Dennis Allen talked all summer about Gordon's flexibility, said he needed to learn both spots and that they'd find him more snaps. Well, this might be exactly that moment. And from what he showed against the Saints, I'd say he's ready. Now, fans are calling for a move. Some want polls to bring in outside help. I get it. But I also think people are sleeping on what we already got. Look at Week 7's numbers. McLeod wasn't targeted once. That's not luck. That's solid play. That's confidence and positioning paying off. Wright made one mistake, but made a big-time play. And remember, those 2 were the starting outside corners all through camp. This isn't a new combo. They've worked together, got their chemistry, know the scheme. The only reason we didn't see them earlier was because Stevenson won the job to start the year. So really, it's like we're going back to the original plan. And honestly, that's not the worst thing. Based on camp in Week 7, these guys can play. Of course, having Johnson and Stevenson healthy would be ideal, but this is the NFL. Injuries happen. What separates good teams from great ones is how they respond. And what I saw last week was a solid response. Allen deserves props too. He tweaked his schemes, put players in position to succeed, and they delivered. 3 interceptions, 4 sacks. The defense balled out. Wright got his pick. Bard had one. And Tremaine Edmonds grabbed another. My only concern is this Baltimore's built different. Lamar Jackson's built different. He can do things few others can. If our secondary's short-handed, he'll find a way to attack that. So yeah, confidence is good, but it'll be tested like never before. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Should Ryan Poles make a move? Bring in help? That depends on how bad Stevenson's shoulder really is. If it's short-term, a week or two, stay put. Trust Wright, McLeod, and Gordon. But if it's long-term, 4, 5, 6 weeks, then yeah, you've got to explore options. Because as confident as I am in our depth, those guys can't be elite starters for that long. That's a tall order. So the real answer, it depends. Might not be what fans want to hear, but it's the truth. We need more info on Stevenson's injury. Once we have that, Poles can make the right call. What we can't do is panic. The sky's not falling. Wright and McLeod have stepped up, Gordon's legit, and Allen knows how to put his guys in position to win. That's a winning formula, and honestly, I think we'll be okay. Even if Stevenson sits. Not perfect, but okay. The depth has proven it through camp, through week 7, and they'll show it again if asked. And hey, don't forget Josh Blackwell. He's still in the mix too. He subbed in for a snap when Wright left after that collision. Doesn't sound like much, but it means we've got bodies ready to step in when needed. All right, let's talk about the big one. The move that could reshape this defense right when we need it most. And the crazy part, it's about a player we almost landed last year. Matt Juden's name is floating around the market again. Ryan. Poles chased him hard before the 2024 season. We all saw it on Hard Knocks. The calls, the negotiations, he backed out because of the contract situation. Right call at the time. But here's the thing, Juden's available again. And this time, for way cheaper. Last year, the Patriots traded him to Atlanta for a 3rd-round pick. This year, you could probably get him for a 6th or 7th. That's nothing. That's pocket change in draft terms. If Poles almost pulled the trigger for a 3rd, why not do it now for a late pick? Here's where it stands. Juden signed with Miami back in August 2025, played 6 games as a rotational piece. But in week 7, he was a healthy scratch. When you're a healthy scratch on a struggling team, that's a neon sign flashing. They're ready to move on. And for us, the timing couldn't be better. Yes, we had 4 sacks in week 7, but 2 came from blitzes by Brisker and Gordon. Our actual edge rushers, Sweat and the crew, only got 2. That's not enough when you face elite quarterbacks. Montez Sweat's been a beast. 10 tackles, 10 pressures, 2 forced fumbles, a pass deflection, and a sack in the last 3 games. But he needs help on the other side. That's where Juden comes in. Now, I know what some fans are thinking. Juden's not the same dude from 2022 when he had 15.5 sacks in New England. Fair, but ask yourself this, how much of that drop-off was the situation? The role? In Chicago, he wouldn't have to be the #1 guy that's Sweat's job. Juden would be the complement, feeding off the attention Sweat draws. In that role, he can still shine. And the risk? Basically none. You're giving up a 6th or 7th rounder. That's a low-cost, high-upside move. Doesn't pan out. Fine. But if it does, and Juden finds even a bit of that old spark, your pass rush just leveled up for next to nothing. So why not do it? Well, one reason, Austin Booker. The 2nd-year kid on IR, who just started his 21-day practice window back on October 7th. He's the reason Poles might be waiting. If Booker's healthy and ready, maybe we don't need outside help. Maybe the answer's already in-house. Problem is, he hasn't played in the 2 games since returning to practice. If he's not activated, by the end of that window, he's out for the rest of the season. That means the Bears are at a crossroads. Either Booker's ready to contribute, or he's not. If he's not, Poles has to look elsewhere, and Juden's sitting there on sale. The trade deadline's November 4th. That gives Poles time to see what happens with Booker, time to evaluate, then decide. And I think that's exactly what he's doing, waiting to see if Booker's for real before pulling the trigger. But if it were me, I'd be on the phone already, making calls, gauging the market, seeing what's out there. Because as much as we like Booker's potential, we can't stake our entire push on a player who's been hurt and hasn't proven it yet. Juden, meanwhile, is a known commodity. You know what you're getting, a tough, smart veteran who can still play when he's used right. For that cheap of a pick, it's a no-brainer gamble. If we reach the deadline without trading for a rusher, and Booker's not on the active roster, that'd be a mistake. Opportunities like this don't pop up often. A proven pass rusher, cheap, at a position we need help in. Rare stuff, Doc. And yeah, I get the concerns age recent numbers, but we're in a win-now window. 4 straight wins. Defense bawling out sweat. Dexter Edwards leading the charge. Offense finding its rhythm with Swift, Monangai, and Johnson calling the shots. This is the moment to push in the chips. And truthfully, this wouldn't even be going all in. It's just a smart, low-risk, high-reward move. The kind great G-Miz make. They spot windows of opportunity and act dot so. Ryan Poles, if you were somehow hearing this, make the call. Pull the trigger. Bring in Juden. Give Sweat some help. Give this defense another weapon. Because if you do, I'm telling you, this D could be special. We could hang with anyone. If not, and we end up struggling to get pressure come playoff time, we'll all look back at this moment wondering what could have been. And that'd be a shame, because the door is wide open. We just need the guts to walk through it. Remember, this is the same Juden Poles wanted badly last year. Same guy, same situation, and now he's on clearance. If that's not a second chance from the football gods, I don't know what is. So there you have it. Bears family, 3 massive storylines that could shape the rest of the season. And now I want to hear from you. First, the 2-back system with Dandre Swift and Kyle Monangai. Do you think Ben Johnson's finally sticking with this balanced approach? Or are we going back to the old Swift-heavy play calling? Drop it in the comments. Was this a permanent shift or just a 1-week fluke? Second, corner depth with Stevenson hurt. Do you trust Nashin Wright, Nick McLeod, and Kyler Gordon to hold up, or should Ryan Poles make a move before the deadline? Because that call could literally decide whether we make a deep playoff run or fall short. Should he pull the trigger or ride with what we've got? Let me know below. And third, Matt Juden. Should Poles fix last year's miss and bring him in cheap, or wait it out for Austin Booker? Clock's ticking, and the next 2 weeks could define our season. Let me see those opinions in the comments. And listen, if you made it this far, if you've stuck with me through this whole breakdown, you're exactly the kind of fan this community is built on. You care, you want real analysis, not just the headlines everybody else parrots. So do me a favor, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you haven't already. Because this isn't just a YouTube channel, it's family. It's a crew of Bears fans who care, who think, who talk real football. Every like, every sub, every comment, it tells me you're here, that you value this content. And it keeps me grinding week after week, bringing this kind of deep dive coverage. Because let's be honest, there are a bunch of channels out there that will just spit the surface headlines at you, but not here. Here, we go deeper, we break down trends, context, and what every move really means for this team's future. So if that's the kind of content you want, then get in on this. Be part of this family, because together, we're stronger. Together, we're the most informed voice in Bears Nation. So hit like, subscribe, tap that bell so you don't miss a video. And most importantly, drop those comments about those 3 big questions. I read every single one. I value every single take. The Bears are cooking something special right now. 4 straight wins. A defense locking down behind TJ Edwards, Montez Sweat, and Dennis Allen, and an offense that finally knows who it is with Swift, Monangai, and Ben Johnson driving the bus. This is our moment, and I want you all riding with me on this journey. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for being part of this crew. I'll see you in the next video, where we keep breaking down everything going down with our Chicago Bears. Bear down, family. Bear down.